It's time for Must Have Seen TV, the podcast dedicated to the sitcoms of the 20th century from I Love Lucy to News Radio. I'm your TV guy, Brett White, and I'm also a senior reporter producer for Decider.com. And say hello to the lobster fettuccine to my scented candles, Ethan K. Hello, Ethan.
Hey, Brett. I am
Um,
happy to be
uh,
a lobster fettuccine. I could go crazy for a lobster fettuccine right
God,
now.
man, I miss Olive Garden. We used to
We
go to
used to,
Olive Garden all the time.
you and I used to go to Olive Garden. We'd sit there and we'd like shoot the shit, and then we would order
Ugh.
a tour of Italy and whatever weird fried pasta they had on the menu, and
God, just
all you
good
could eat
stuff.
breadsticks. And it's not to say that Olive Garden is gone. It's not dead. It's just not accessible.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't go anymore.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. It's all fine. It snowed today.
Yeah, we got 8 inches of snow up here in
Yeah,
Westchester.
yeah, that's about the same. I all day while I was working. So I mean, it was first of all, snow was coming down until like 1 p.m. So that's wild.
Mhm.
But also like, man, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, because we live on the first floor, and I just kept like clumps of snow, just kept like, like just like big clumps, just kept falling, and I'm realizing that might be coming from the roof, like
Oh yeah,
it might be
probably.
falling like 8 floors.
You don't have eaves in your apartment building. It's
Yeah,
it's
so
coming from,
it's straight down, and usually we get that's how we usually get trash in our backyard. So
and that's
now it's
how
just
people could get killed if
yeah.
there's underneath it, especially if it's
So
iced up.
yeah, that was like wow, cool.
Don't go.
Uh, and on the flip side, you went out of the country.
I was That's the reason that we're recording this a little bit late, because I know that everybody was extremely anticipating and on edge, waiting for us to finish this
Will
part
Becker
two of this Becker part two
die?
episode. But I had to get out of the country for vacation reasons. I Megan and I went down to Cancun, which was really nice. We did very little. We stayed on the beach. We read books. I know it was extremely exciting, and we did check out
No.
the Chichen Itza and the cenote. We went didn't snorkel. We went swimming in the big sinkhole, one of the big sinkholes they have, which
Oh.
Ethan of 3 years ago, 4 years ago would have been like, "Hell's no, I can't see that bottom," but I did it anyway.
Oh God, how far does it go?
60 feet.
Oh, okay. That ain't bad.
Yeah, I couldn't go down 60. I can't go down 12 feet. I don't
Well, I
like
was
water.
I was expecting like Mariana's Trench or something.
No, but still 60 feet
Angler
is,
fish coming up.
there were fish there too. There are little fish that like nibbled at your feet, and big catfish. Um, that was the good part. Kind of like the meh part. We did like we paid for like this excursion to they picked you up, they took you to the Mayan pyramids, they took you to the cenote.
Ooh.
But they were also like they really hard sold you on like Mayan goods. So the first place that you went was literally a tourist trap um souvenir shop. And they just like the tour guide kept talking about like the benefits of obsidian and how important obsidian was. And he's like, okay, he got the entire tour group over and was like cutting string with like sharp pieces of obsidian. And we're like,
Jeez.
we're here. I guess we're here like watching this man sell me obsidian. Um, and then like some guy was like, "Oh, I'll get you a really great price if you want to buy some of the obsidian." And we're like, "Okay." And then we go up to pay, and he overcharges by $6.
Oh man. Wait,
It
how
was like
what does obsidian do? It's
it's
just
like a
black
volcanic.
rock.
Yeah, it's like black rock. It's very sharp. It has very sharp edges. So that part was like, okay, I guess. So, but we did buy some handcrafted obsidian for
Damn.
some extra money. But that's what happens. When you're on vacation, you're just like, you know what? Maybe I'll buy a piece of obsidian because the guy really sold it hard.
Honestly, sounds like a dream.
Honestly, it was nice, and I was sad to come back to work.
Yeah, by far.
Becker? Want to talk about
Becker.
Becker?
Well, I mean, I will point out. So while you were in Cancun, I bought a sewing machine.
Ooh,
I am not in drag now, but I will. I am very proud.
Brett has gotten up
Oh.
for the people listening on stereos and iPods.
I have made a ridiculous dress.
He
It's
made a
like
dress.
a go-go Goldie Hawn. Yeah, you said it was like Goldie Hawn. I mean, it's supposed to be stupid. It's supposed
Goldie
to
Hawn
be,
laughing.
yeah, like Carol Channing on Laugh-In or something. So yeah, we got feathers, we got orange sequins, and we got rhinestones. I still have to finish stoning it. But that's partly why I'm not in drag tonight, because I was like, this needs to be finished before it gets the introduction.
Now you wonder why Brett's voice is going out and in because he has the dress hung up on a door in the all the way in the back of his room. He came back and then he
You know,
came forward. So
it's all there.
he's
But yeah, I
sitting.
mean, I've taught myself how to sew, which is very hard, but
Is it hard to
you
do
know,
rhinestones?
that's just glue.
Oh,
And it's annoying. It's, fabric glue smells. And it takes a long time, and that is very annoying. Uh and yeah, I was the sequins. I was surprised. I was very glad that the needle would go through those. But those are also like it's a cheap. I guess it's a cheap sequin fabric. Um because now my floor is just covered in shards of tiny sequins.
well,
No matter
a vacuum will pick those up.
yeah, no matter how much I sweep, still there. But
Still there.
that's it. That's all
That's
that. I'm trying to think if
craft
there
life.
was but this week we'll be traveling to a better time. God damn, just a better time. November 15th, 1999. The World Is Not Enough rolled the box office. Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas still topped the charts. And CBS aired the Becker episode Hate Thy Neighbor. Ethan, you must have seen Hate Thy Neighbor before. Today,
No, I this was a completely new experience because I had not seen the first part of this, Stumble in the Bronx, aka Becker Gets Shot in Brooklyn, not in the Bronx.
yeah.
Um I know what they were trying to do. We all
Yeah,
get the
yeah, yeah.
Jackie
Well,
Chan
and also
reference.
the show is set in the Bronx, we established.
Yeah, the show is set in the Bronx. He's
But
shot
he's
in
shot in
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. They did not take him all the way to the Bronx
No.
from Brooklyn. Just as like hey, like he's like in the ambulance shot. Like, hey man, where you live? Yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta take you to a hospital near where you live, man. Like they wouldn't do that.
No one does that. If I get hurt on vacation, they're not going to be like, okay, where are you from? We're gonna wait. We're gonna put you on a bus,
We're gonna put you in a pine box, ship you back.
ship you back. So previously he had been shot, not by any necessarily malicious reasons against Becker, although as illustrated throughout that episode and this episode, Becker's a shitty person.
Mm-hmm.
Becker is a shitty human being who's just garbage. And there should be more episodes where Becker gets shot. That's all
Where
I'm saying.
people are just trying to shoot him. Speaking of November 15th, 1999, I do want to know, where were you when The World Is Not Enough rolled the box office and Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas topped the charts? Were
I
you heavily invested in either of those pop culture moments?
I probably watched World Is Not Enough. Okay, November 15th, 1999. It was before Thanksgiving, so I was still at college, and I think I watched World Is Not Enough at the campus theater.
That was
Yeah,
the garbage one. That's what because GoldenEye was Tina Turner, Tomorrow Never Dies with Sheryl Crow, and World Is Not Enough was garbage.
it was
That's
garbage.
how. So yeah, and I was I mean, Smooth by Santana is the first MP3 that I think I ever had. So
It is a fantastic, and believe me, going to a resort in January in Cancun, the people there
for
are
Smooth,
no, they're Santana and Rob Thomas's kind of people. They
yeah.
are baby boomers who
How
are
often did you hear
retired.
"Smooth" by Santana featuring Rob
I heard
Thomas?
it at least twice. Because the music that they played, we were our little room was right by the bar, and they stopped playing music like at a normal time, but all day we would hear Neil We healed Neil Diamond and Journey and
Oh
Poison
my god.
and Guns N'
This sounds like
Roses
a
and
dream.
all this cock rock. It was just
It
and
sounds
then
like
every
Vegas, but at the beach, and therefore it's better.
they had evening entertainment of like three tenors. They had like very operatic singers, but then they also forced them to do like Sweet Caroline, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is not what you guys trained for. You guys sing in Italian. You guys sing in Spanish. You don't want to sing Sweet Caroline to a bunch of 60 plus people who have been drinking since 11 a.m.
Oh, it all sounds so good. I just,
Well,
I,
let me put in a plug for JetBlue Vacations because they have fantastic deals on vacations. Not that they're a sponsor of the show, but
well, welcome.
they
I'm
are.
just so tired and just like ready. I'm ready to do anything. But
Boo!
this week, this week on Must Have Seen TV, we'll be talking about Ethan's trip to Cancun. No, Becker episode "Hate Thy Neighbors," the ninth episode of season 2, and was written by Ann Flett Giordano and Chuck Ramberg, and directed by Andy Ackerman. Here's how Pluto TV describes the episode. Frances Fisher guest stars again as Dr. Elizabeth Carson and reveals to Becker her attraction to him. Ethan, how accurate is that description?
It's very accurate. It's also very sad. These two have no chemistry,
I
by the
also
way.
love how annoyed that caption reads. Frances Fisher guest stars again as
Again.
Dr. and also Dr. Elizabeth Carson. Now, I want to point out, I need all the like synopses I found in newspapers. They made sure to say the character's name, not just Frances Fisher. They're like, Dr. Elizabeth Carson is back. We definitely know who that is and care.
She did five, I think she did 5 episodes of Becker, and it was just this little spate of episodes, but they were, spoilers, they're dating for 5 episodes or so, or
Good for
less.
him.
She's a big name. Like
Oh
you
yeah, it's
recognize
Frances
her.
Fisher. Yeah,
Frances
has she
Fisher,
been nominated for Oscars?
Tonys, I believe,
Frances
and
Fisher.
Oscars. I think she now you're gonna
Frances
make me
Fisher Awards. The awards
sh
page on IMDb.
yeah, she's done a
Oh
lot.
my
A
god,
lot of theater stuff. Very famous for being in a very long-term relationship with Clint Eastwood.
that's
Um,
wild.
yeah.
Who
She
can tame that man? The person who can tame Becker. That's who. Becker
she's done
is
a
the
lot of
Clint
theater.
Eastwood of.
I can't say too much about him. Like
Oh
he was in the second Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, so that gets him kind of a little bit of a pass for some stuff.
now, I will say this episode. So this episode starts with what I will bluntly call a cop out.
Ooh.
It is much like Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion, wherein nearly every episode of that series ended with someone being shot or killed, and then the very opening scene of the next episode is like, "Aha! I'm actually alive!" It every fucking week. This one last week was like, Becker's been shot, but he can't stay in this hospital anymore. He's got a taxi. His blind friend is like, I want to help you out. And he's like, no, no, blind friend, I'm going to just like leave you at this bus stop. I'm going to get in this cab and drive away because I'm Becker and I'm emotional. And then this episode starts with him basically saying, wait, go back. And then the cab just backs up.
So, and then the cab driver asks for $3.50, which he is entitled to,
Well, there's
because
like a flat fee when it like once that meter starts, you owe at least 250, right? 350.
exactly it's a flat fee. But interesting cameo number one. Rhett, do you recognize the actor who
I
played?
100% recognized him.
It is Ken Divishian, who played the producer in the first Borat movie.
Okay,
Um,
that's yeah.
he's been acting in everything forever. He's great, and he's got the first interesting cameo of the episode. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, but he has
So,
line,
so basically, like Becker comes back because yeah, he's been shot and he's in pain.
and he realizes that if I'm shot and I'm in pain, I really should be in the hospital, not just driving home to the
Yeah.
Bronx.
Just because he himself is a physician does not mean he can heal thyself.
Oh,
He needs another physician to heal
But
him.
he is also full of cold pricklies because he tells the cab driver, played by Ken Division, to buy a pine tree air freshener and wear around your neck because he's an asshole.
So then we go back into the his hospital bedroom. His
Like
hospital
hospital
room.
room. It's
Yeah. And okay. I know there's never a good reason why you're in the hospital, but I will say, like, maybe I really need to get out, like, and do something, because I was like looking at the hospital room like, oh man, hospital room, that sounds really nice right
Hey,
now.
I've got nothing but respect for that. I've enjoyed many a hospital room in my time.
Like, you know,
I do want to say shout out to our friend of the show, Kirk D'Amato, who's
yes.
in the hospital right now, going through some tests. So hope he's doing okay.
What
Previous guest on
episodes
the
did he
show.
do? I know. I think he might have done like the one of the first episodes with Dick Van Dyke, maybe.
I think he did Dick Van
Um,
Dyke.
but
So I listened to that one because
yeah,
I respect Kirk.
of course, he's one of the
I
best
I
dungeon
miss him too.
masters you will ever have.
So
Most
in the
imaginable.
hospital room, Becker, of course, is trying to smoke, which you are not supposed to
First,
do
first
ever.
of all, cannot do in a hospital, and you also just cannot do on TV now.
No, you
Which,
can't do that.
which, okay, like, you know, that annoys me. There's one thing that I probably have in common with like cranky conservatives or whatever. It's that, like, why can't you smoke on television anymore? Like, it just
Yeah, it's
it wilds me. When you turn on Disney Plus and it's like, this movie is rated PG-13 for violence, sexual, like, situations, and tobacco usage. It's like, man, one of those is not like the other. I am like, that is wild.
back in the day. Like one of those three would not even blink. You wouldn't
No,
even
God,
bat an eye
no.
for them. Not
Pinocchio
at all.
fucking was smoking cigars all the time. Uh,
Everybody smoked. They would
that
have you watch the Tonight Show. They had ashtrays out there for all their guests because everybody smoked.
well, and also, so like, and I'll even say, I hate smoking. I hate the smell of smoke.
Yeah.
I think it is a disgusting, like, you know, hobby. You know, more power to people that do it, et cetera, et cetera. But just be personally, like, I'm not pro cigarettes or anything, but I do find it wild that we have drawn a weird arbitrary line around cigarettes when it's like alcohol, man. Doesn't alcohol kill a lot of people? Like, why
Well,
is that not?
we'll show somebody getting shot. We'll somewhat see someone getting like beaten up and abused and hurt, but God forbid they're shown bringing a cigarette up to their mouth.
And
I
it,
I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke. I haven't smoked in years. Is this another thing where I'm like, people do smoke. Represent them in
yeah,
media.
like, what, especially, like, I don't know, like, what happened. Like, there had to have been some sort of law passed or something, because it happened so hard and fast, and it is so bizarre. It's like, it's kind of, God, is this my Republican origin story? No. I was like, it's kind of like how instead of actually dealing with all the plastic waste, they're just like, paper straws. And it's like, no, guys, there's bigger things that you could do. Um, it would, because also, like, hey, Wolverine, Nick Fury, and the Thing should always have a cigar out of their mouth.
Yeah. Howard the
The
Duck.
Yeah, the fact that we have gone so that I don't think a cigar has touched Samuel L. Jackson's lips in the entire MCU.
No. Wolverine, old Wolverine did.
But I don't has
1999.
but I don't think he probably hasn't in any of the movies from the past 10 years, right?
Has he? Did he in X-Men First Class, where he's at the bar?
Oh, maybe.
I
Yeah,
think he
maybe.
was.
Yeah. So,
Half
yeah.
remembered X-Men memories.
Eh.
Woo!
So it is wild watching Ted Danson smoke a cigarette on, you know, network television, because nowadays that would get you put in jail.
But you know, the most famous person who smoked in a hospital was Richard Lloyd from the band Television. When he went to the hospital, he took that famous series of photos of him just in the hospital gown, holding the IV bag and smoking. Is the coolest shit, and he is fucking amazing because I saw
Oh yeah.
him play twice, and he is great. Anyway,
Solo?
um,
No.
what?
Solo or with television?
He played with not Perry
Oh,
Ubu, Rocket from the Tombs,
okay.
when they reformed, and then the Nuggets 50th anniversary that Lenny
Oh,
Kaye put together. He also played with that. He's
I saw
excellent.
television's last show or whatever
Ooh.
in Central Park where they did not play hardly anything off Marquee Moon, which I was just like, you guys have, I think, like 2 albums. And I know one by heart, and I left this concert, I think, only hearing like See No Evil at Marquee Moon. Like, what is happening, guys? Anyway,
Gotta not
no,
play the
know the audience. Play your
That's
hits.
punk, but that's punk for
That's
you.
punk. That is punk. Yeah.
That was very
Uh,
punk.
and yeah, so he's so Ted Becker has learned that replacement doctor is going to be taking over his thing. And there is a nice little joke where he's like, oh, my patients, have such a relationship with my patients. They love me so much or whatever. And that's when his like assistant nurse says like, yeah, they love you so much the cops are questioning all them to see who like, had motive or something.
Um, then Dr. Carson busts in and she's like, "You can't smoke in a hospital." And he goes, "You can't get high in my freshman year dorm either."
Bum, bum.
But I also
And
wrote
no,
in my notes, "Smoking on TV."
yeah, fucking wild.
Yeah.
How dare they? And so I thought that this whole episode was going to be another hospital episode, but like this is like the next scene, or do we go back to the doctor anyway?
It went back to the office
Yeah,
because Margaret says she was late because there was a cow on the tracks, a very New York thing.
now the funniest thing about this entire episode to me is that she's like, I've lived in New York. I've lived in New York my whole life. I saw something today that I've never seen before. There was a cow on the subway tracks. And then who's her like the other the like younger ditzier.
Linda, Shawnee
Yeah,
Smith is
she's like, what? How did that happen? And then I love the response that, oh God, what is her name? I don't know any of these characters.
Margaret.
I love the response that Margaret gives, which is to just kind of like throw up her hands and be like basically like I don't want to talk about it, or like which to me is one of the most quintessential New York responses to anything, where it's just like, yeah, a cow was on the subway tracks. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna. I don't care. I didn't ask. I don't care. I gotta get to work.
And as weird as that sounds, cows have been on the subway tracks as recently as December of last year.
Wait, like in the tunnels or like the outdoor ones?
I believe that there was one in the tunnels in 2006, and then December of 2023 there was one on the outdoor tracks. But if you look online, you can see pictures of it. It's a steer. It's got big horns.
Jesus.
They were able to capture it and release it in I believe it was in a like an animal sanctuary or
But
something like that. But yeah, just
that is
happened
New York. I mean, I
2 months
remember
ago.
like one time we were on a subway and I guess I probably partly pulled into the station, but like all of a sudden there was like smoke and we all had to like walk through all eight cars to like get out of the subway, get out of the train and get up on the tracks. And I just remember like, you hear, oh, the subway is smoking and we're all having to evacuate. And you would think, oh my God. But everyone was just like, God, what the? I'm so tired. Forget this.
Yeah.
Like, just like, yeah, this is just inconvenience. I don't care. Get me out of here.
It's New York.
I love that.
Yeah, it's all about inconvenience. I remember when like a manhole cover exploded and there was like a whole bunch of like smoke and fire, and everyone's just like, "Did you fucking see that? I had to walk all the way around the other side of the Chrysler building to get into the office." Yeah, me too. It was all over the news. Yeah, it's New York.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Becker, for reminding me of a fun thing about New York. But then we meet the first of the doctors that is replacing Becker, who is a pediatrician. He's retired. He's come back out of retirement. And boy, does he get 5 lines, because for some reason, I kept thinking about this. Do actors not get paid? They get paid differently if it's like over 5 or under 5. And I was like,
Yeah.
he is the main drive of this one scene in comedy, but I think he might only have like 2 lines.
Well, this is interesting cameo number 2. He is played by James Green, who you may remember as Councilman Milton in Parks and Rec. He was in
Okay.
he was the older
Yep.
councilman from Parks and Rec. Um, So this is a
which is
pediatrician
just
who
like
is
20
work.
years after this too. So it's like
Yeah,
he's still going
yeah.
strong. Energizer batteries, baby.
He's an older doctor, but he's a pediatrician. He's now a temp, but he speaks like a pediatrician.
Yeah, so they're
Um,
gonna test the patient's tinkle. He gives him a lollipop.
he's gonna make the
He,
boo boo all better.
yes, yeah. Please call me if you have trouble going doo doo. Like, okay, we get it. Moving on.
Interesting cameo number three.
Oh,
Did you
that
notice?
guy.
Did you notice who the patient was?
I recognize the actor. Was it Vance from Vance Refrigeration?
Yes, it is
Huh.
Robert Schaefer, who played Bob Vance in The Office from Vance Refrigeration.
Man,
Yep,
I
you
just
are
fucking shot with that. Man, it hit me. It hit me right as you asked, and I was like, man, that might have been Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
yeah.
Wild, yeah.
So you got one. You got two. You got
Uh,
Ken Division too.
so yeah, so then we go back to the hospital where Ted Becker is sitting there like just trying to get anyone's attention, just screaming.
Just screaming, "Hey!" Because
Hey.
he's dressed. He's not in the gown anymore. He's dressed in normal clothes. Means that they're going to release him. He keeps yelling, "Hey!" Dr. Carson walks in and says, "The man across from you just woke up from an 8-year coma to ask you to shut up."
How often do you think that she's used that line? Because I feel like she probably a lot, right? Like she's probably got like a Rolodex.
Yeah.
Good thing about being a doctor is odds are you're never going to see the same patient twice, so all your material is fresh every time.
I
That's what
miss going.
matters.
I miss the hospital. What should I do to get in the hospital?
It's like,
No,
what's a
goodness.
fun, non-intrusive thing? I spent a lot of time in the hospitals as a child, so I have some fun, formative memories.
I spent hospital time in college because I had digestive problems
Just
and I
like
couldn't keep food down for a number of days. So I don't
it's
know.
just
That's
nice to like, you're chilling in a bed,
yeah.
got a television, people come to visit you and they bring you stuff.
I did a lot of crossword puzzles. Um, I discovered something when I was in the hospital doing crossword puzzles that most, if not all, but most crossword puzzles, you can actually do them backwards. That if you start from the upper left usually and then work that way.
Yeah.
If you start from the lower right and work and you can actually put the clue for one across the bottom right and then two across goes all the way to like the left. You can actually do a crossword puzzles backwards like that, upside down and backwards. It makes them a little bit more difficult. Anyway,
No, that hurts my head. No.
um
But then he gets released, right? Like, oh well, and his friend from the diner comes to
Reggie.
pick him up because oh, it's funny, like, oh god, what is
She
where
says,
Reggie's like, didn't you take an oath? Yeah, like, and I can't remember what the line is.
well, Reggie said that she'd have been here earlier, but there was a big sheet cake at the nurse's station because he was leaving.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, but didn't you take an oath? Like, why are you? Oh, why are you here? Oh, because I lost a bet, or because I lost the
Yeah.
coin toss, or whatever.
Oh, that's what it
Which,
was. She goes, "Oh, you're still here," and Dr. Carson says, "Yeah, because I took an oath." Well, how about you? And she goes, "Because I lost a coin toss."
yeah,
He
which
had to
makes
pick him
me
up.
think, like, man, what are Becker's redeeming qualities? Because
Zero. He
everyone
has none.
hates him.
Everyone hates him.
Uh,
Then we flash back to the nurses, to the nurses at the office, and the new doctor speaks German. They can't
he,
understand him.
yeah, like the Margaret, is that her name? Did I
Mhm.
get it right? Oh my God. Margaret is basically, oh, like just talk to him. But like, he went through a tunnel. I couldn't really understand what he was saying. And then he comes in and it starts off normal. And then it switches into like an English, Scottish, German. And then it just goes off. And then the other nurse, young nurse, is like, just come with me. And if you see anything that you need, just point to it. I like her.
Yeah, I like her too. I like them all, except Ted Danson, who's an irredeemable asshole in this.
Yeah,
But as a
wild.
person, he's probably, I don't know, pretty nice.
Yeah.
So we cut to Becker is at home recuperating. He's not supposed to go into the office for a week or so. He has never been at home during the day.
So he's getting up close and personal with all the sounds of his
All
building,
the neighbor sounds.
which is fucking in the middle of the in the middle of the day,
That's the
saxophone
upstairs
lessons,
neighbor. Saxophone neighbor is the across the hall. There's crying baby.
crying baby who he wakes up when he tries to stop the
Yep.
sex neighbors.
There is a Girl Scout cookie girl.
And then the neighbor across the hallway just opens her door and peeks out at the slightest noise. She
Yeah.
does it like every single time, which is like, man, that's
Now I could say that this is an interesting cameo because it's but she's not an actor. Mitzi McCall is the next door neighbor, so I'm not going to count this one as the four big cameos. But she was a writer. She was part of numerous writers' rooms.
oh,
She wrote and produced Charles in Charge.
oh,
She wrote the show Free for All. She wrote some Mr. Belvedere, wrote some Alf, some Small Wonder, some One Day at a Time. Like,
oh,
yeah, she
that's
has got this
great.
cameo as the nosy neighbor, and she's done a ton of TV.
I like that. Good
Yeah.
for her. Yeah, it was probably fun. Uh, who comes over first? It's Reggie, right? She comes over and she's like, "Hey,
Yep.
man." Now she goes, "I okay." So what we are led to believe is that Becker lives in a horrible apartment in a horrible building, and let me tell you, that is a gorgeous apartment in a gorgeous building. Like it is.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it from lived in New York almost 20 years now, eyes. And I'm like, they were really having to like stretch to make me believe that was a bad apartment. Cause I'm like, those ceilings are high. He's got hallways, multiple hallways that are going to doors that I
He's
don't
got
know.
he's got a fireplace, not non-workable fireplace because he filled it with books, but it's a
Yeah.
fireplace.
But I do like when Reggie comes in, she's like, I gotta go wash my hands. And he was like, why? He's like, have you been in your elevator lately? I did like that. I
It
was
was a
like,
nice there were some good jokes here. Um Not also not a cameo, but I did look up with the Girl Scout was played by an actress named Chloe Looper, who did her early work was voices in Lilo and Stitch,
hmm.
some Baby Geniuses, and the most recently she was in a video game called Dead as Shotgun Zombie.
Oh, good. Hey, working.
Baby Geniuses to Shotgun Zombie.
Keeping
Love
that SAG card active.
I love it.
Uh,
So the but you know she comes to the door, he's like get out of here, and then Reggie comes to the door and he starts yelling at Reggie, and then he tells her to come in because he thinks it's going to be the Girl Scout again, and the nosy neighbor looks across the hall.
oh,
His response was, I was expecting a little girl.
yeah. Yeah, there's some good, some Three's Company misunderstandings. But while Reggie is there, Dr. Elizabeth Carson just, I
Yeah.
think, leapfrogs over a whole lot of ethical, something or
Yeah.
others. Because she 100% got his address from hospital files
Yep.
and had to travel from Brooklyn to the Bronx. So it's
Which
like this is premeditated. She wasn't just in the neighborhood.
this is the equivalent of like driving across Texas wearing diapers to stalk your, you know, your ex-boyfriend. This is going all the way from Brooklyn to the Bronx.
Yeah, it's about the
Like
same.
if you took the train, that would take most of your day.
Yes. At least 2 hours probably. God. Yeah, so that's horrible about New York. But she comes in and like Reggie's there and where's like Ted is Becker's gone somewhere. He's not.
There's this kind of mix up where Dr. Carson's isn't sure if Reggie's a significant other.
Yeah, and Reggie's like, oh, I would never. Who would in their right mind? And then she realizes, like, oh wait, his doctor is here. That definitely means she has a crush. And she's like, oh, but no.
So Reggie leaves. Again, the nosy neighbor looks out the door, and Reggie's line is actually really good.
Oh yeah.
Uh, she looks at him and just goes at the neighbor and goes, "The sex isn't great, but I need the money for college."
I'm glad, yeah, they're all in on it. I like that. They're all making the jokes. And then we get Dr. Elizabeth Carson and Ted Becker. Uh,
Confessing awkwardly. The romantic chemistry is non existent. He has shown in all of his interactions how awful a person he is.
and she's like, ever since you left, haven't. She's like, I haven't not missed the way that I feel horrible after I leave. But it was some like very like roundabout, double negative kind of confession of you make me feel a way that I would like to feel again.
It was unpleasant having you. You questioned every decision. We fought constantly. I never left your room without wanting to strangle you, and I don't entirely miss that.
Yeah.
This is the bedrock of any great relationship.
And I kind of do think it is definitely almost like it's intentional that they don't have chemistry. Well, I don't know if it is intentional, but I do think it works in that like they both of them clearly are not, you know, they aren't good at this.
No.
I was thinking like, oh yeah, okay, they're going for a real Sam and Diane thing. And then I was like, I don't think I've ever said Sam and Diane in reference to literal Sam. Like that is Sam. That is the Sam of Sam and Diane, and he is now in a Sam and Diane. So
It was like if you took two poisonous snakes and threw them in a pit together, and they just kind of like went at each other and started biting, 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 and then you look at them and go, "Oh, they're friends."
yeah.
Like, no,
Oh
it's not.
yeah. And they would probably both of them would probably look at that and be like, oh, okay,
Oh,
so
he's her
shut up. Yeah.
boyfriend.
And so like she's like, well, do you want to go on it? Like, let's go on a date. And he tries to start like planning it. Like, well, what about Friday night? I'm on call. Saturday, I'm on call. Sunday, I have like my niece's birthday, and then I'm on call. And he's like, this was your idea. Like, then he immediately gets mad.
And then she says, if you split your food with me that Reggie delivered, it'll count as our first date, and we don't have to do any of that awkward stuff. And he goes, great,
Yeah.
it saves me $80.
Yeah. So she eats a fry and leaves. And is this when we get Doctor Number Three?
Uh,
Doctor
no,
Number Three, Part One, because isn't that split up into two parts?
it
Yeah.
is, but oh yeah, yes, this is where we meet Doctor Number One.
Doctor Number Three,
Doctor
Part
Number
One.
Three. Doctor Number Three. I'm sorry, Timothy Val. We didn't see you in any of your other stuff. You do not count as one of the big cameos for Becker.
But he's
We
the attractive doctor who they're like, oh, this one we can keep.
You did a great job, Timothy Val. So more power to you. Just you don't get to count as one of our big cameos. You're not Bob Vance.
Wah, wah. Yeah, you needed to be on some aughts NBC comedies in order to really make it.
So yeah, he's very attractive. No issues there. We close
Yet.
out the scene. That's pretty much it.
And then
Uh,
next is when his friend comes over, who
Jake.
Jake comes over with a bag of like it's just like aphrodisiac, like just like you're gonna have sex in a bag, basically.
Yeah, and it's like it's all the food that you mentioned. It's the lobster.
Lobster fettuccine,
It's all that, and ends with a
lo-
Miles Davis
the
CD,
CD,
which
scented candles,
I
which
don't
he
know.
likes
Miles
to
Davis.
call the closer.
Miles Davis is the closer. I don't know. Some of his experimental stuff doesn't really work with the mood, but we'll just hope it's a good one. Sketches of Spain or something. Um, and
And
then
that's when the Symphony of the City starts.
yeah, the sex upstairs keeps going, and he bangs on the ceiling again. Goes, damn it, Vinny! Even a train stops because there's sex upstairs. There's sexy
It's
times.
always, yeah. Uh does a woman knock it? Oh, but like when Jake comes over and like knocks on the door, the neighbor across the hall opens and sees Jake be like, hey man, they got some real romance for you or something.
Yeah,
Like so she's always looking. I will say I've never had a neighbor like that. Uh who's always like peeking and poking like
I
that.
was a neighbor like that because we had um some St. John's University kids across the hall, and they were always just fucking up or like having parties or having people over, and the people would come over to our side of like the roof, and we'd have to like yell at them to get down. So like it was a whole thing. But
Yeah.
yes, I was that kind of neighbor. I will fess up to that. I
Well,
will cop.
well, no, that makes sense. And like I have been that neighbor in terms of like, oh, it is 3 a.m. and there is someone in our hallway drunk and screaming.
Oh
That
yeah.
has happened a couple of times, and that's when multiple people are looking out like what?
Yeah.
But yeah, and so Jake gives Becker some advice. He's like, "Hey man, you can't like yell and like that when Dr. Elizabeth Carson is here because she's going to be hitting a taxi. Like she's not going to stay around."
He's gonna go all the way back to Brooklyn.
Yeah, and that's an expensive taxi. Uh,
Oh, oh
and
yeah.
so he basically says like, just write them a note, like just like ask them to just chill for, a day or something.
What would you estimate that cab fare to be?
Well, I know that a lift from Brooklyn, like Prospect Park to my apartment in Jamaica was like $60.
Okay. That's what I was thinking
So
too. Yeah.
and or from my place to downtown Manhattan is like 100. So
Don't tell Megan, but there have been times where I've taken a lift from your house to Grand Central Station because like the train is taking way too long, and I'm like, I don't want to. I have to catch another train, and I
yeah.
don't want it to be the last train of the night. So yes, I have spent a little bit of coin getting from your place
Oh God, don't
to
we
Grand
just
Central.
love the world we live in? Uh uh yeah, and
But
so Jake like leaves and he's like, oh, who am I, kid? And not even rope and chloroform could keep this woman here.
which is very sketchy to say.
Very dark. Very
So
dark. But
Becker has the idea that he's going to write notes to everyone, just asking them to be quiet while he's on his date because he can't go to a restaurant. He has to stay home because he is, as previously mentioned, been shot in
yeah, he
Brooklyn.
has been shot. Wow, yeah.
Uh, then we cut over real quick to the end of the day at the doctor's office where Linda and Margaret. Linda's like, I'm wearing like a tube
She's
top.
wearing like a tube top and some like red leather pants. Honestly, she looks like she's in the Bad Girls episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which probably aired around this time. So like it's very like she's going to the bronzes. She's gonna slay something. Speaking of slaying,
So yeah, this is always where it gets to that like, oh, Becker's not so bad, and then you get to like, oh, these are a whole bunch of gay jokes that we weren't expecting. They showed up out
yeah.
of nowhere.
Well, this is an I don't even really know how to parse it because I know. So like basically like I'm definitely gonna flirt and hook up with this hot doctor, and then the doctor leaves and they are dressed as a woman and say like thanks guys for a great day and like leaves and they're just like
Oh,
and so to unpack that is just like you know in the late 90s, the joke is, oh, they're a weirdo, they're a transvestite. Ha 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 ha. But like if you look at it through like a modern lens of how we actually now have a better understanding of like what this like the doctor like this doctor is not a trans woman because they worked all day just like
yeah.
as a hunky doctor. And then I'm also like, but also this doctor is not like a drag queen at night because that look, honey, that look was not serving. That was some Sunday school chic and like a basic ass wig. So it's not like she was off to a gig. Um, maybe this is a individual that is just like hella into the gender binary. Like they're so non-binary that they are binary. Like day, man, night, woman. I don't
It's kind
know.
of like it's like the superhero that
Yeah.
like it's like the Hulk when like the Hulk sun goes down, like the Hulk comes out.
Yeah.
That's new Hulk continuity, by the way. Not old
That was
Hulk continuity. That's Al Ewing
oh, is
run
he
of the Hulk.
oh yeah, he did that on Immortal Hulk again, but that's
Yeah,
also how it originally started, was in the first miniseries. It was at night. Also,
a
he was gray.
cross-dressing werewolf.
Oh,
What are things?
maybe.
Yeah, like what happens at night? Like someone changes at night. Like
One also, so like, did they not? Does the doctor get there before them? Because is this doctor arriving to work in a dress and a wig
No, no,
and then
they were.
taking it off? Like,
Oh no,
because
no,
it.
no. Because he I think I want to say that he changed at the office, which in itself is
Well, that's one thing I'm
what do
wondering.
you have to
Like,
work with at a doctor's office?
if this person is dressed as a woman at all times when they are not on the clock at that doctor's office, so are they showing up in a dress and wig, taking it off, getting hunky doctor-fied?
They
And
would
if
have
so,
noticed,
are they arriving there before the two
and I don't
sisters?
think they could because
He
since they
wouldn't
were a
have
temp,
keys.
exactly, they would have to get in after the two nurses.
I'm so glad that we put thought into this. And Flet Giordano and Chuck Ramberg didn't know.
Write an
They
article
try.
about it for Decider. Like we figured
Uh,
out the mystery.
of that
The
so plaguing everyone. And
yes,
so then we
Dr.
get the date.
Iverson. Oh, the date happens.
And now I did well, the date was I like these are two very good performers who are having a good performance together. I
Oh,
liked
performance
that.
wise, yeah, performance wise, Ted Danson,
And
um,
Francis Fisher are doing a good
Francis
job.
Fisher were top of their game. Excellent.
They have some like nice little jokes back and forth, like have you been married before? Like twice. She's like, oh, once. Do you have any kids? Yeah, my ex-husband's. Like,
Do you like
uh,
Mets or Yankees? It's the New
it's
York
like
answer.
I'm a New
Whoever has a chance.
Yorker, and he's just
Yeah.
like, oh, so you like whoever is like doing good. He's like, oh, you know me. Like they have, and then they do that weird thing that only happens on TV shows or whatever, where they start talking about how good things are going.
Yeah.
And they've only like they've literally said these like three exchanges in like 30 seconds, and they're like, oh, this date's going great. Like,
And I don't think it was because she notices that he pulls out a chair and then sits in it
yeah,
instead of pulling out a chair for her. It's the laugh track goes when that happens. So
yeah, and you pour some champagne. Yeah, but then there's a knock at the door, and then we get a the runners all start coming home to roost, where knock at the door, open it, and it's a young adult woman who's like, do you think that we're only going to have sex whenever it's convenient for you? I don't think so. How dare you? Like,
all right, and that is cameo number 4.
oh,
You probably don't remember her because I don't remember if she had any lines, but she did have a big role. Her name is Ruth Livier, and she was America Chavez's mom in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
oh, wow.
Yes.
Good for you. Wow.
Yeah, just fun facts.
That's, I'm shocked.
That's the kind of research that you get here on Must Have Seen TV.
And so then, God, who shows up next is,
The crying baby.
oh, yeah, the mom who's basically like, are you like,
You're
basically like,
responsible for
you're
this.
responsible for this, which is, and then the third one happens, which is a mother shows up with a son saying, you said that you were going to kill Barney. That's his friend's name. And the sketch writer in me is like, no. Or the improv comic is like, no, no, that is not the game. The game is everyone that comes to the door is saying double entendres that allude that they're sexual partners.
Yeah,
So
it's not
like
the
her
game.
showing up and being like, you said you were going to kill Barney, that's his friend, is like, well, that's a different game. That's a like that we're off. That doesn't work.
Yeah, and then the fourth person who comes in completely just demolishes the game because it's not even about Becker at all. It's a man in a wheelchair who says, "I teach saxophone
Saxophone.
lessons to pay my rent." I forget exactly what Becker said. It was something. It was just disbelief because the saxophone
Yeah, that
playing was terrible.
so like if like, oh god. So that guy should have shown up and said something like he should have said, oh god, something like it is like I'm trying to make a blow job pun here. Like,
But it's
you can't stop my blowjob. Like,
not.
right? Just because you don't like it doesn't mean you can stop my blowjob.
That'd
And
be
that
whole.
would.
That'd be a line that would come out of like Cobra Commander's mouth. No, Hawk, you can't defeat my blowjob.
But it's like that plays the game of everyone that comes to the door is
Yeah.
insinuating a sexual relationship that the neighbor and Dr. Elizabeth Carson are misunderstanding.
And
Anyway,
the neighbor hits it home because Dr. Elizabeth Carson comes up and tries to defend him. And the neighbor says, "Oh, she's just another one of his whores."
he has all sorts of partners, both women and men.
Because Jake was there for all the romantic stuff. And
I feel
then
like she should have been both women and little girls. Honestly, someone call the police. You know,
it
like
was
that.
everything.
That
Everything.
was that was the creepier one.
The only other note that I wrote down is that he shoos them all out of the apartment, and I can't believe he did this. He shoos the guy in the wheelchair out with a broom.
And then when the guy is like bumps into the door for me, says like, "Watch it, Ironside,"
It's oh,
which is horrible. But
it was terrible. Like it's
for those who don't know, Raymond Burr played
Ironside.
Ironside, who was a like private investigator or detective in a wheelchair in the
Yep.
70s.
Yep. Now, in your opinion, who is I'll ask you two questions. Who is the bigger asshole? Archie Bunker or Becker?
Archie Bunker.
Who was the better asshole?
Archie Bunker.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Right? Is there a? I mean, that's the right answer.
It is the I mean it's the PC answer. If you want to be like
Whoa.
really like out there, you'd be like, no, Becker was way more offensive. I'm just saying.
I mean, Becker hasn't like I haven't heard any racial slurs in these two episodes. So,
No, there was
so
just
we're like, okay.
true, but there were a lot of gay jokes in the last episode, and that was Becker. And he did shoo
Yeah.
a man in a wheelchair out of his house with a broom.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. We're
Um,
raced to the bottom. But then somehow him and Dr. Elizabeth Carson kiss.
yeah, for some
After all
reason,
that, you're
there's
like, oh
no
God, you were so mean to
this
that old lady, those children, that man in a wheelchair. You're
this
so
this
mean to them.
date is objectively awful, and I can't keep my mouth off
And
yours.
it's like I'm so hot for how terrible you are.
I'm
And
so
yeah,
hot for how terrible you are.
and that is how the episode ends,
Uh,
right? Yeah.
it makes you cry. It just, I don't know. You know, there were the funny parts were funny, but I very quickly got tired of unlikable Ted Danson, Dr. Becker.
Yeah, it's a weird choice. It's a real
Yeah.
weird. And I mean, like the description for this show on Pluto TV is like Ted Danson plays Dr. Becker, a man who knows everything about life and all around him. And it's like fun. Sign me up.
What we want to say.
Because like Seinfeld, all four of those characters, well, not really Kramer, but like the other three also hate everything around them,
Yeah,
but they do it in a relatable way. Like, and
there
it isn't everything. Like they have moments of levity.
there are many curmudgeonly characters. They are every show has them.
Yeah, you got to. And yeah, it is interesting trying to see how Becker works as a character. So
Yeah.
are you ready for some must-have facts?
I love some must-have facts.
So, for the ratings this week, 10.7 million people watched this episode, which was the same as last week, except this week it fell in the ratings from number, I think, 16 last week to number 23.
Wow.
Whatever could have happened in this week of November 1999 that would inject a whole lot of new programming that would push down a moderate hit like Becker?
It wasn't an election year.
No.
What was it?
And it wasn't the Super Bowl. What was it? Well, let me read to you the top 5 shows of this week.
Let the
Number
first one,
5.
let the first one be like Y2K preparedness, like what you need to know.
I mean, it. Number 5. Who wants to be a millionaire Sunday? Number 4. Who wants to be a millionaire Tuesday? Number 3. Who wants to be a millionaire Thursday? Number 2. Who wants to be a millionaire Monday? Number 1. ER.
Oh,
So this is the week. So from what I gather and what I actually like vaguely recall now that I read about it is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire debuted in the States in August of 1999, where it was like summer replacement program because kids back in the day, we only had new television from September to May. And it was, what do you say? What do you call it? Manageable. You could actually watch things. So in the summer you would have reruns, and then you'd have like special events. That the summer is when you're like Gulliver's Travels starring Ted Danson airs, you know?
yeah.
Or that's when like Jurassic Park makes its TV debut. Or in the case of ABC, we got Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They ran it in the summer and it was a huge hit. And then they were like, we gotta bring it back.
Aha.
This week of November, it's coming back. We're gonna run it. It was I didn't even read, like, also number 6 and 7 are also Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Damn.
Yeah, like 6 of the top 8 spots were all Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because they ran it all week, and then there is skepticism as to whether or not this show is going to be able to work when it's actually competing with first run programming. Because in the summer it was just going up against reruns. Like, who
Yeah, and it
cares?
was a
You're going to
huge
watch
hit.
it. It's
Huge
new.
hit. Enormous.
But then it comes back during November and it's like, yeah, Friends, Frasier, fuck y'all. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Couldn't topple ER though.
No.
But this is like, this is peak ER. This is like, Dr.
Clooney
Elizabeth
ER?
Corday's hanging around. Clooney might be there. When did Clooney leave ER? Because this is probably season 5. Yeah, he left in 1999.
Okay, so this he had left by this point, by this
But I
season.
mean, ER proved to be more powerful than Clooney. Noah
Yeah.
Wiley, Anthony Edwards, Juliana Margulies.
Great names.
We got Dr. Carrie Weaver coming out as a lesbian around this time. Like, just lots of good stuff. I should do an ER podcast. This show was great.
I should do one just about like Noah Wiley and the librarians.
Yeah, it's the librarians and
Leverage.
Bob Newton.
No. Just Leverage and just the librarians.
But yeah, this is what changed the world. This is what gave us Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
That's it, it's not surprising. Doesn't surprise me. I'm glad that the same amount of people tuned in the next week to see what happened when Dr. Becker got shot.
Yeah, because I don't think it went up again. Well, we'll see. It didn't go up against Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, so it like lucked out. It missed that bullet. Becker didn't miss the bullet, but the show missed the bullet of Who
I knew
Wants
you were
to Be a
going to
Millionaire.
do that.
Yeah. The CBS Monday night lineup at this time was, of course, King of Queens, Ladies Man, Everybody Loves Raymond, Becker, and 48 Hours. And in the intervening time, I have learned that, yes, Becker is in the Raymond verse.
Oh,
I do think all those shows crossed over.
that's phenomenal.
Becker crossover. Becker crossover.
Where Ray Romano also gets shot, but in the Bronx, and has to go
Becker, on the King of Queens episode, Where's Papa? The King of Queens is Doug Heffernan ended up getting smacked in the head with a baseball and going to see Dr. Becker to have it looked at. And then later that night, Doug also showed up in that night's episode of Becker. Okay, so there you go. Shameless crossover Monday is what it was called. Good for them. I like that. I do like that idea. So what are you watching this night? On ABC, we got all your rowdy friends have come over for Monday night to watch the New York Jets at the New England Patriots. On CBS, Becker, confined to his apartment by a gunshot wound, Dr. John Becker, Ted Danson, feels his mood brightened by a house call from his attractive physician, Elizabeth Carson, Frances Fisher. Gotta say the name.
Carson.
Elizabeth
It was a choice role. Everybody wanted the role of Elizabeth Carson.
Like, man, I liked the original actress that played Elizabeth Carson, so I hope Frances Fisher can, because Elizabeth Carson can only regenerate 9 times.
Well, it's like Hamlet. I like so and so's Elizabeth Carson rather than other person's Elizabeth Carson, but you have to watch both of them to be able to decide.
Yeah, and I'm as long as there's more Elizabeth Carson content, it just makes my Elizabeth Carson action figures appreciate in value.
She's like
So
Willy Wonka. Every generation has its own Elizabeth Carson.
exactly. On Fox, we had Ally McBeal. Ally is sued by a jilted bride. Ling has devastating news for Fish. And on NBC Law and Order Special Victims Unit, an attorney defends a pedophile suspected of slaying a boy in Central Park. Curious lack of names in that one. So yeah, are you watching football, Becker, Ally McBeal, or Law and Order SVU?
I'm probably watching Becker. Becker hasn't done me wrong so far. I kind of want to see what happened from last week because I think last time we recorded, I said I wanted to watch Becker. So now knowing this is a two-part Becker and I have an option to
Yeah.
watch Becker, which is the follow-up to Becker Gets Shot, I kind of want to see Becker get shot again or
Becker gets shot and
how
then
it's resolved.
Becker gets laid, right? Like, or that might be the next one. This is more like Becker gets kissed.
Becker
Uh,
gets kissed and
I'm
insulted by everyone.
I'm watching Ally McBeal because
Oh,
I probably honestly and I probably did watch Ally McBeal on this night because I did watch the show. I think this is probably season 2 because Ling was season 2 edition, I do believe. Um yeah, so on IMDb 10 users? No. Did I write that down right? Like 10, did like 10 people watch this episode of Becker?
you might not be wrong. 121 people.
Okay, 121. Geez, 7.7. Oh, out of 10 is the scale. Wow. 121 Becker heads rated this as 7.7. Higher, lower.
Uh,
Lower.
I'd go a little bit lower, maybe like a 7.2.
6.8. I don't know, like
Yeah.
we're going down. We're going down.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know. Is this must-have seen TV? I mean, do other people have to watch this show? You usually ask me, and now I'm asking you. Do other people have to watch this show?
No, I don't think I don't even think this is a good episode or like first that's definitely not a good first episode of Becker because you need to watch last week's first. Um
All you see here is him just being awful. Like,
yeah.
why do you want to watch that?
And must see performance, I'm giving it to Reggie because she had a number of the best line deliveries.
Yeah, I'll give it to Reggie too.
Have you been in your elevator lately? That was really good.
Uh,
You
T
know, I
Terry
need to
Farrell.
sex is horrible, but I need to pay for college. Very good line delivery. Also, I lost a bet or like I lost a coin toss. I don't know. Well, now I'm wondering, are Anflet Giordano and Chuck Ramberg is like Reggie their pet character? Because they really did give her all of the good lines, and I do not recall Reggie having all the good lines last week when
I gotta
Matthew
say
Weiner
that
wrote it.
Terry Farrell, like, you remember her from Dax
From
in Star
Jane's Addiction.
Trek.
That's
But
what I.
she outacts everybody on this sitcom. Becker,
Yeah,
Ted Danson's over the top. Like, Shawnee Smith is great, but she's very hard playing a character. Hattie Winston's great, but Alex Desert is great. But like, Terry Farrell is just amazing as
yeah.
this character. She controls every scene, she hits every beat, she hits every line, every delivery is great. She is you're right. She's the must have seen performance.
Yeah. Good for you, lady. And I mean, yeah, and most other people see this episode, just Becker is streaming for free on Pluto TV. So, start with the first episode, probably. I should start with the first episode, but
Or do something else.
yeah, or do something else. I have a
there's
lot more Survivor that I'm watching.
there's other TV out there, you and I should do a must have now TV after we record this.
And I need to remember to put it up
Haha.
because I think I'm sitting on one. But that is everything, right? Yeah.
That's
Where can
everything.
people find you
You can
during the day to annoy you, much like people having sex upstairs or playing a bad saxophone?
you can play a bad saxophone at me at Ethan K55 on Instagram.
And
I've more or less dropped Blue Sky at this point. How about
Yeah,
you, Brett?
I haven't checked Blue Sky in a hot sec. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I've kind of like low key been like, when the URL stops working, that is when I'm probably gonna pull the plug. When I type in TW and it doesn't automatically go to my Twitter, then
That's it.
that's
You're done.
I'm still calling it Twitter because that's what it fucking is. And I'm on there and I'm posting again since I'm off of mental health sabbatical. I took a 3-month break. And you can follow my drag exploits at Barb Hardly everywhere, especially on YouTube, where I just gave a tour of my comic book collection and told everyone to store their comics in bookcases. And I laid out all the arguments while looking gorgeous.
That's gonna be an argument for me. I know this probably it might be better, but at the same time, I don't have the wall space.
How do you have the floor space for long boxes? Long
It's
boxes take up more square footage.
I've moved over to short boxes because they stack easier.
Oh God, then it's hard to get to anything. See, this is what is in the video. And I make a really good joke about Cheryl Crow and Dakota Johnson. Um, go watch it. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Please, go to YouTube, leave any reviews literally anywhere. Please email us at musthavesceentv@gmail.com or leave reviews or Instagram or just do anything. Let us know that you're out there. Let us know
Yeah,
that
say
you're
hi.
out there.
Say hi. Say hello. We usually read them on the show. And yeah,
Like
we love you. Keep it great
fostering
up.
a community. And until next time, people, I should have come up with an outro over the past 7 years.
One
See you
day.
next time on Must Have Seen TV. That's actually what I usually say. Anyway.